If I'm honest here, I didn't expect us to be this deep into the spring when I'd finally be able to make the long-awaited theory video I promised. But lucky me, I never gave any specific time frame when this would be done. So now, when I finally have time again, it is finally time to give you the theory I've been teasing for a long while now. And it's also a topic that's been getting a lot of requests, so I'm more than happy to make this. The subject at hand today is Okina and her relationship towards Lunarians and Hecatia. Well, we'll also be briefly touching upon possibilities in what way she may have influenced the events within the Touhou franchise outside the hidden star in 4 seasons. So, without any further ado, let's finally give you what you've been waiting for. So, as I already teased in the last episode where we went through the grimoire of Uzami, we'd go more in depth on what exactly Okina's relationship is toward people around her. And the most immediate thing I want to touch upon are the Lunarians. Okina clearly shares the same dislike toward Lunarians as does Yukari. Her anger toward them is most likely even greater than Yukari's, but we'll get back onto that later. What gives Okina's opinions about Lunarians away are the couple lines she offers us in Grimoire of Uzami, where she says how she is waiting for the next time something bad is happening to the moon, and unexpectedly the people living on its surface. In itself, this statement wouldn't be too out of place. In the end, most residents of Gensokyo do share a great dislike toward Lunarians. But what really lifts Okina above the most is the fact she seems to be actively seeking allies or people who share this great dislike. Because now we have to understand how the timeline of this whole shenanigans goes. During the events of Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom, Okina was totally unaware of the incidents, or at least people behind it. This is proven in Visionary Fairies Enshrined. In that manga, Clown Piece is sent to Earth for unknown reason by Hecatia. Nothing really interesting happens until fairies start to turn into stone cherries. Stone cherries are a way for fairies to preserve themselves when their life force gets low. Stone cherries are also what become of the human souls as they sink into hell. These stone cherries are what vengeful spirits eat. Well, this causes a threat for Gensokyo, and Hecatia herself arrives and offers to deal with the stone cherries. She ordered Clown Piece to collect all of them. Hecatia claims she has no idea who or what is causing all this. Clown Piece, however, disobeys Hecatia and figures out with the help of a couple other fairies who's behind it all, and it turns out Okina has caused the fairies to turn as a result of the 4 Seasons incident. Okina reveals in the midst of the battle that she had been suspecting that the Hell crew were up to something, which leads us to believe that the fairies turning into stone cherries was intentional by Okina. Well, Okina is victorious in the end, but decides to free all the fairies' life force regardless. But before she lets Clown and the other fairies go, she tells Clown something peculiar. She tells her to tell her boss that Gensokyo is home to a terrifying secret god, and with that the fairies are let go. Clown returns to Hecatia and delivers the message. After that, Hecatia reveals that she, in a way, knew that they were set up for this and is glad about what Clown did. But what's most interesting is that after that, Hecatia says that Clown will be staying in Gensokyo as she is her trump card. Now let's dissect this a little bit. First of all, we probably know as to why Clown Piece was sent to Gensokyo in the first place. Hecatia tells Reimu that she was looking to bring fairies to hell with her as a way of making new ways for her to torment the souls sent to hell. It makes sense to send Clown Piece to Gensokyo. She learns quickly how the fairies in Gensokyo behave, which would make it easier for Hecatia to naturalize them to their new home. But in all honesty, we know the truth why Hecatia wants more fairies. They're the go-to weapon against Lunarians, especially Earth Fairies, as they're overflowing with life force, or as Lunarians know it, impurity. But when fairies started to turn into stone cherries, it became almost too easy for Hekatia just to take them. Now I doubt Okina knew of Hekatia's plan. She only turned the fairies to draw the Hell Crew out, in which she also succeeded. Hekatia and Okina both learn of each other's existence, and Hekatia seemingly drops the whole thing about getting fairies to hell because what she gains at the end of this manga is probably more valuable to her than any amount of fairies. Because as threatening as Okina's message to Hekatia might seem at first hand, it can also be interpreted in one other way. Instead of stay away or I kick your ass, Okina's message can also mean yo, I'm worth giving a call to. And it seems she got the call she was asking. Now let's move to the events of Grimoire of Usami. As we covered the events of that book in our last lore/theory video, I won't go into too much detail, but to sum things up, Okina had invited Hekatia and Junko to show off their powers at a Danmaku festival. It is during this she reveals an awful lot, like that she was greatly interested in Hekatia and Junko and that she considers Moon her enemy, or at least that she has something against it. It is also clear as day to us now as to why Hekatia ordered Clown to stay in Gensokyo. It was to make it possible for her and Okina to communicate. Clown Piece worked as a messenger of sorts. But now you may ask, what's the big deal? Well, as I previously mentioned, I suspect that Okina may have an even greater grudge against Lunarians than Yukari, or at least she is much more open about it. Yukari has shown absolutely no intentions of teaming up with Hekatia and Junko to take Lunarians down. Reasons for this are unknown, although I have my suspicions, as you may know. Okina, however, shows great interest in Junko and Hekatia, and may be seeking to help them out. This also strengthens my suspicions that Yukari has some personal reasons keeping her from joining Junko and Hekatia. And here was all that we need to draw a couple conclusions about Okina. First things first. Do you remember what Cousin said about Okina in Wild and Hornet Hermit? She called her a menace and said that she had a displeasure of knowing her. She told all this to Aya, who was making an article about Okina, and Cousin even told her to not publish it because that's what she wants. And now I'll ask you to look back at all interactions the main characters have had with Okina. What's something that Okina always does regardless of the situation? She is always looking for people who would quote-unquote side with her or work under her, or she's looking to spread her influence. So what do you bet that she is a sage of Gensokyo just because it simply gave her powerful allies whose goals align with her own, or at least align on the surface level? Yukari might have shared the same enemy with Okina, but her eagerness to deal with them might not be on par with her. So would it be too far-fetched of an idea that Okina is seeking new allies who would be more willing to aid her in her goals, and she found these kinds of allies in Junko and Hekatia? Now we have to remember that we don't know exactly why or what Okina has against Lunarians. We only know that she has something against them. But there still are a couple things I want to touch upon before we close this episode off. Remember when I said that there might be a possibility of Okina being involved in more than just the events of Hidden Star in 4 seasons, and the mangas she appeared in? Now, what I'm about to say has no actual proof behind it, and is purely food for thought, but bear with me. So, usually when we have a new game and new characters, there often is an explanation as to why they are here and why they are causing an incident. In Imperishable, for instance, The characters we fight against have been in Gensokyo from the very beginning and are only now exposing themselves. In Subterranean, the characters have been hidden underground for hundreds of years. In UFO and TD, the characters have been hibernating or were sealed away and were released. But in the history of the whole franchise, we have two sets of characters whose appearance in the Gensokyo was never fully explained: the EOSD crew and the MOF crew. Both came from the outside world, which isn't anything special in itself, but one thing that is special is that both brought with them their own buildings, and Moria Shrine had even a whole lake brought with it. And for all we know, there is absolutely no explanation as for how this was done. By our knowledge, no one in SDM has the power, not even Patchouli, to move a whole mansion through the barrier. And before you do, don't mention my second ever theory, it is not relevant. But the same goes for Moria crew. Even if they have two gods, nothing indicates that either of them would have the power to move a whole spot of land to Gensokyo. It was said that Kanako moved the shrine and the land, but honestly, I don't buy it. Especially when it's never specified how she did it. So now I'll present to you an idea of how it could have happened. Remember, these are just speculations. My idea is that Okina was the one who brought the EOSD and MOF crew into Gensokyo. Okina's power is really similar to Yukari's, being able to create doors like Yukari is able to create gaps, and Okina's position as a sage is the guardian of the barrier, which further hints that she probably is capable of doing that. But what leads me to further believe that she may be the one behind of bringing the two sets of characters into Gensokyo is that if she truly has something against Lunarians, she would have a motive for doing so. You see, both EOSD and MOF crew are linked to the moon. For EOSD, it is more obvious. Remilia is a vampire who gets her powers from the moon, and she has shown great interest towards it, as we have seen in Silent Scenery Blue. But for MOF crew, it may not be so obvious. You see, the way the Moria Shrine is tied to the Lunarians is the fact that there is an additional god besides Kanako, Suako, and Sanai. In the shrine, an unnamed god of war of the Lunarians. Now, I don't know how Okina would have benefited from that, but having a sealed Lunarian god of war in your possession could be beneficial to anyone. And as you remember, we've established that Okina is actively seeking allies, so for her to bring powerful beings into Gensokyo that could help her in her agenda against the Lunarians isn't too alien. But still, as I said, there is nothing concrete to support this. It is more of a fun headcanon until or if we get more info to support this. But anyway, that pretty much sums up everything I had to say about Okina and the events surrounding her. This theory was originally supposed to come out a year ago, but stuff kept happening and it got delayed more and more. Sorry about that. But like so many times before, I'll once again ask you to give your opinion about this theory. Did you like it or did you dislike it? I'm also always taking theory ideas if you have any. Post them into the comments. And as a small teaser, I once again have small rant coming up under the lore talk theme, this time focusing onto the cheating detective satire webcomic that's been going on, so be on the lookout for that. I sure do have a lot to say about that one. But anyway, as always, please remember that this has been just a theory and is not canon. My name is Touhou, and we'll see in the next video.